May 22nd, 2019 meeting of the Rotterdam Town Board here at Rotterdam Junction Volunteer Fire Department. I want to thank you all for being here. I'm glad that we have a big crowd, because sometimes when we have our meetings at Town Hall, we only have a few people show up, and that's okay. But when we come out to the junction, we get a lot more participation, and I appreciate that, because that tells us that you care about where you live, and you care about your neighbors and what happens here. So I thank you for that. This evening we started our agenda meeting at approximately 6 o'clock. We went through our agenda, and then we entered into executive session at approximately 6:35 p.m. with a motion by Mr. Christou and a second by Mr. Signor to discuss various items, employment history of employee numbers 10/10/2018, 2/27/2019, 5/22/2019, and 5/22/2019A. Employment history of employee number 11/14/2018, and disciplinary action of number 10/10/2018. We exited the executive session at approximately 7:09 p.m. with a motion by Mr. Christou and a second by Mr. Signor, with everyone voting in favor to exit executive session. So at this time, Ms. Mark, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Christou?
Present.
Mr. Guidarelli?
Present.
Mrs. Herrera? Here. Mr. Signor?
Present.
Mr. Thomason?
Present.
5 present.
Okay, would you all please stand for the pledge? Maria, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So under supervisor's report, I just want to mention, and I'll sit down, if you haven't picked one of these up, there's copies up there. This has to do with the grant that we have been awarded to make pedestrian and sidewalk improvements here along 5S from Parkus to Bridge Street. This project will be happening over the next couple of years. But just to show you that there'll be some more activity here. And for those of you who have been to meetings here regarding the tunnels that DOT and CSX are basically assisting on, if you will, for the bike trail going underneath the tracks in Pattersonville and here in the Rotterdam Junction. As part of the agreement with the state, we are working with them for for drainage, basically from Lock Street to Sprafford. The state is including that in their project when they let out the project to put the tunnels in. So there'll be some relief there, and they're talking about our engineers are working with their engineers, so they'll be putting in a very large line running that distance to help alleviate the water problems that have plagued Lock Street and the junction for a long time. You know, one of the things is that it's not going to take care of every single type of storm that we may have, and obviously sequence of rain events and those those floods. But it's going to take a lot of water away, and particularly with rain events, it should provide a lot of relief for those folks on Lock Street. So, I just wanted to make mention of that also. So the first thing I want to do is call Peter to the podium. We have several people within the county and the town who are being recognized by the county legislature, and I wanted them to be recognized here at one of our town board meetings as well for their efforts in our public safety throughout the county. So Peter, go ahead, take it away.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor and members of the town board, Madam Clerk. The Schenectady County EMS Committee is comprised of individuals representing ALS agencies in the county, transporting agencies within the county, which includes Rotterdam EMS, Niskuna District 1, Mohawk Ambulance Service, and Rainsford Volunteer Ambulance Corps, as well as representatives from each of the towns and some of the populations that we serve. The EMS Committee is charged with evaluating the system in the county and making recommendations to the county legislature for updates or adjustments to what we do and perform. Additionally, we are charged each year with coming up with individuals to recognize for their outstanding service in a variety of categories for the EMS system in the county. And they range from public safety dispatching to nurses, physicians, basic EMTs, paramedics, as well as Agency of the Year. The town of Rotterdam has been blessed by several individuals who've been recognized by the committee in the last several years, which includes Rotterdam EMS, Kathy Fisher from Potter Hill Fire as a basic EMT of the year, just to name two very recently. This year, the county is quite honored to present 4 individuals at next month's county legislature meeting. 4 individuals who live within the town and who work to advance the EMS system in Schenectady County. As everyone knows, when you dial 911, you'd like a calm voice on the other end of the phone. And for many years, this young lady worked at Rotterdam Police Department in the public safety answering point, and that's where I first met her back in 2010, when she tolerated this crazy guy who was back in town and joined Williamsburg Ambulance again, and said, I don't understand everything you're doing, so I want to learn. But then, this past year, before she retired, we had at Duanesburg, I was one who nominated her. At Duanesburg, we had a call where a young lady who was in favor was driving from a county not far from ours, but far enough away from Albany, where she was headed to deliver twins. Well, since these were children number 6 and 7, the time between the water breaking and the rush to the car and the amazingly long drive to Albany Met was interrupted by the delivery of the children. So she stopped in front of a gas station in town and she dialed 911 and they dispatched Duanesburg Ambulance and Williamson Fire to the call. Well, a single delivery, not really that much of a problem. One child comes out, everything's fine, clean the nose, clean the mouth, cuddle them up, do an APGAR, at birth, 5 minutes later. Well, when they're 2, when the second one is breech, life gets more fascinating. Now, for anyone who knows anything about the requirements for the equipment carried on an ambulance, we only had 1 OB kit. That left us kind of short. Well, good thing we have a second ambulance and a young lady monitoring our call who had much more calm approach to us than we did. Because all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we needed 2 ambulances, 2 paramedics, we switched hospitals, and you would have thought we were the Clampets on the radio. And I say this as the guy running the show out of Williamsburg. So this calm voice, who I'm now going to send her the recording because now she knows who nominated her, this calm voice on the radio that kept us together, got us the advanced life support that we needed, told Albany Med we were coming, called them back and told them we were not. Bellevue told them we were coming and said, by the way, they still are, and helped guide us through the entire transport was none other than now retired from Schenectady County UCC dispatcher Marie Gage. Marie kept calm right through the entire call, and if you listen to it, she knew exactly what we were doing, even though it had absolutely nothing to do with what we said on the radio. So someone who can manage that scenario and keep everything moving and flowing to me is an outstanding public safety dispatcher, and next month she'll be recognized by the Schenectady County Legislature for that. We hope that she's enjoying her retirement job, but we certainly do miss her on the radio. The EMS Communications Specialist of the Year is Marie Gage. Now, when the town of Rotterdam dials 911, Rotterdam EMS responds admirably. I hear them on the radio all the time because they go on 3 times or 4 times, 10 times as many calls as my agency does. But when occasionally we will intercept with them, or we will encounter them on a multiple patient scenario. And our paramedic of the year is a young man who I knew from when he was a basic, and then from when he worked at Ellis Hospital, and he went through the paramedic program, and then he decided to leave town for 2 years. The fellow is now wife over to Syracuse, where she went to PA school. But whenever we would run into this paramedic, our encounters were always amazingly professional, polite, and pleasant. Not all of our patients are polite and pleasant, but this young man is the epitome of how to interact with patients, his ability to take in the severity of a situation, remain calm, and be a leader on the ambulance. As a paramedic on the call, they look for individuals who are strong, able to lead, and able to ensure that people understand that the directions need to be followed. And having worked with Brian over the past 5 or 6 years, even though he took 2 years away to go to Syracuse, not that I hold that against him at all, it doesn't surprise me at all that he was nominated to be Schenectady County's ALS Provider of the Year, Mr. Brian Moran. Now, just as equally as positive and very easy to work with, Rotterdam EMS is also blessed by many basic life support EMTs, and they help balance the crew and the approach to the care that's provided. And I remember meeting the basic EMT of the year many, many years ago when this, it did not matter if it was 2 in the morning that we met her. She got out with a smile on her face and said, "Hey, look at you, we're gonna have fun." And I'm like, seriously? I was asleep. So, but her approach to patient care and her ability to keep patients calm and to work quite well, both not only with her partners on the crew, but also with the other agencies that they encounter, has certainly earned her the respect of those within her agency as well as those around her. The basic life support EMT of the year is Elizabeth Rubino. Now we bring a high majority, as I believe Rotterdam does as well, a high majority of our patients go to Ellis Hospital. And 12 years ago, the Berger Commission decided that we were only going to have one option for an acute care general hospital with an ER in the county. So sometimes things get a little stressed, just a little. But they're also very busy. But when we walk in the door and we're greeted by some of the most incredible nurses who are passionate, dedicated, and determined to do what's right for our patients, sometimes the nurses stand out for those we encounter. We bring in all sorts of fascinating little adventures of patients from all over the county into there, and the nurse that stands out this year is a young man who I met 8-9 years ago when I brought in a patient from an event that's no longer held in Schenectady County or the town of Waynesburg. I miss it because I had a blast, and everybody did. But I met him there, and we had a great conversation as the staff was working on the patient we had brought in. And then we got to talking a little bit more, and I became more acquainted with him over time. Every time we would walk in, we were greeted warmly with a handshake, and he treated our patients incredibly well, and took them all seriously for the issues that they had presented in front of them. And the nurses that go above and beyond are deserving, well-deserving of the respect of not only the patients they serve, but also the people they work with. They respect the work we do in the field. They understand we're not working in a 10 by 10 sterile room with everything right around us. And by the way, you can call respiratory to drop an intubation if you'd like. You can call an EKG tech to do a 12-lead. But as our providers here can tell you, we're in the back of the ambulance that's bumping down the roads. By the way, we do some of this in the city of Schenectady, so some of those roads might need a little hovercraft for a smoother ride, because Mother Nature in the wintertime isn't always the greatest. But, when we get there, it's great to be treated by a nurse who respects us, respects the work we do, and provides us with the support that we need to provide that patient care out in the field. This year's Nurse of the Year lives in Rotterdam, which is why we invited him here tonight, and it's Kyle Stark. These 4 individuals will join another individual from Waynesburg, who we see tomorrow night, and the Fire Department, who we see next Tuesday, as they're being recognized in their towns as well. This being National EMS Month, we wanted to bring the message to the towns that our people serve as well, or the towns they represent for the work that they do. The town of Rotterdam is very blessed to have 4 incredible people working in it. The community is, and our EMS system is very blessed to have them. Please join me in congratulating them on the awards they will receive. The town will be sending their certificates to us, and we'll give them to you at next month's presentation. Liz won't be joining us, but we'll make sure that Ryan gets it to her. Liz is advancing her career in nursing, and she'll be doing a clinical shift that day that apparently is a bit of a challenge to reschedule. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Thanks for your service.
The subject was not put in. Karen Molodinowski.
Well, let's read the public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just didn't know I should ask her because I didn't get the right.
Yeah, that's good.
I didn't know about this one.
public hearing one?
Yep. Request by Primex Properties LLC Dollar General as contract vendee to discuss the allowance to construct a plus or minus 9,300 square foot retail building and a proposed plus or minus 42,226 square foot parcel located in the Aquifer Overlay District on tax map number 20.5-8-1.12 vacant and tax map number 20.5-8-3 existing commercial building, 1217 to 1225 Main Street in Rotterdam Junction, New York, 12150. Applicant is requesting to boundary line adjust plus or minus 11,249 square feet or property from 1217/1221 Main Street containing an existing plus or minus 13,000 square foot retail commercial building to facilitate the construction of a new plus or minus 9,300 square foot building.
Okay, and public hearing one, who we got first? Karen? It's okay. It's, yep, okay. Karen, you better pronounce your last name.
Majanowski.
Majanowski, okay, so don't pronounce it. And you're from Bowler Engineering?
That's correct.
Representing the contract vendee?
Correct.
Okay. Karen's going to, I guess, present the concept to us all here tonight. And Karen, if you would address the board, the town board in your comments, and if anyone has a question, if you don't mind, waiting until after the meeting, you can ask us later, or frankly, if it's something that we'll have the board members ask, and hopefully it'll cover anything that you need. So go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Again, for the record, I'm Karen Majanowski from Bowler Engineering, and I represent our client, Primex Properties LLC, who is a developer. And Primex Properties came to us as they were interested in investing into this community, right here into Rotterdam Junction, with potentially a new dry goods general retail store. And the site specifically that they chose is located 2 parcels away from where we are now. So on this map, we're in the fire department hall right here. Here's the existing retail store, and they would be proposing to develop what is currently a vacant lot at 1225 Main Street. So we took a look at this. The parcel is in the town's business zoning district, which would allow for the commercial use. But then we took a look further to see that because of the proximity to the town's wellhead here, that we are in the Aquifer Overlay District. So that's why we're here this evening, to begin that process and present this idea to the town. We did take the idea to the town, met with a couple staff members initially, and were encouraged to come here and present this potential project to the town and to the town board, as this would be our first step for what would be a lengthy, I would say, process of permits and approvals. So with the town board's blessing, we would be able to hopefully move forward with the project and continue on, as there's many other boards and approvals that would be needed. It seems like development hasn't happened here in the past decades, and it's probably because of this Aquifer Overlay District, and maybe other developers have shied away from the potential, but we're here to present this and hopefully move forward. With that, I'll turn it over to the town board.
Does anyone have any questions at this point of the group?
So do you have a conceptual of, are you looking to demolish the existing building and center a new building? What exactly is going on?
We are not. So we're actually proposing to adjust the lot line between these 2 parcels. So what's outlined in the thicker white line here on the vacant parcel would be the parcel for the retail store, and then the existing retail store that's here would remain. And we're just at the very beginning. If we can't proceed with proposing to develop this parcel, then we probably couldn't continue on. So if we do move forward, we will have, technical refined plans and things like that.
It looks like the new line is going through something there. I can't see it. Is that a building in between? That the line between the 2 parcels?
Yes. So in this area, there's existing pavement and parking. Those might be dumpsters that are there. So those would be relocated.
And at this point, we're having a public hearing and proceeding with the potential for for this project, and you would have to go through in front of the Schenectady County Municipal Watershed Authority as well to get approval before this can even advance. And then also through the planning commission process, should this project advance. So you're right, there's going to be a lot more work, a lot more meetings, but appreciate you coming out tonight to show us this visually here. And as far as concepts go, I've seen some of, this is anecdotal from me anyway, I've seen some of the newer stores that you've put in. They look very attractive. I've been inside them. They look they're very welcoming. You got great products in there, so we'll see how this progresses, but it's a project.
Good question. The building that's there now, how many square feet is that?
I believe it's roughly 13,000.
All right, so you're looking to build something smaller,
Correct. The building would be
about 4,000 square feet.
correct. Yeah, it's around 9,000 square feet. Yes.
Okay. Any other members here have questions? And you have someone else? Who else is on there? Okay.
Jack, you do want Mr.
Mr. Frangel?
Jim Frangel?
Okay. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very much.
Jim?
Welcome out here again.
Thanks.
Obviously, it's very early planning.
Yeah.
I just breezed through the planning conditions. It's pretty thorough. They cover a lot of things. I just had a couple points. First off, Jim Carangelo, Rotterdam Junction, 2335, and also fire station. Just, I think it's really a great tie-in when, as you mentioned, the bike path, it'll be a nice continuation of this nice rock agreement. So it's going to continue right through the town. We've proven with our addition, we talked about all the requirements that have to be done for the town, and not only the town, county, state. We've proven with our addition that it can be through the process, even though you're on zone 1. So the project will, keep working. I know you were a huge supporter for us when we had this one. Otherwise, it never worked out. So we appreciate that. What would be nice now is the town could not commit, but continue to work on cleaning up Bobby's Island, because that'll improve the other sides. All of that one big neighborhood. It doesn't make some sense to do one side and not the other.
So what I said earlier, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but I will, sorry, Jim. So on that point, so, we did purchase the property across the street. I think most of you probably know that. We also were working directly with Metroplex. Metroplex, at their last meeting, put the demolition and the cleanup of that site out to bid. So the county and Metroplex are assisting us in cleaning up the property. So that's happening, and it'll happen this year. So, and then what we'll be doing with the property, we'll bring that up at a future meeting when we come back out again in the fall. Hopefully we'll have some concept as far as what we'd like to see there for the junction, so it is happening.
Right. And just lastly, it's really a net. I know most of the activity is west of the battery store, but in case things change, we don't know what's happening. We just want to make sure that the border lines between us and our neighbors are completely delineated, whether it's new striping or something, just to make sure that people, because people aren't really aware, they go there and they park. We don't want them parking on our property, only for the emergency purposes, otherwise we're not going to care. So if somebody puts that in the planning process, I'm not sure what you do. Maybe it's just striping.
And I think you'll see that happen through the, if this proceeds through the planning commission process, you'll see that happen through the Department of Public Works. The other thing, and I'm just blurting this out here publicly, we haven't, I shouldn't blurt, but with what it is that the state is helping us with the sidewalks and pedestrian access improvements here along 5S. I think we have to have that conversation if this project, or any project really, flows here in the area where the state is coming in, again, to assist us with the pedestrian sidewalk project, that we don't do anything that hurts that project. In other words, we need to proceed carefully, but I understand what you're saying, but I also don't want us to have to build it too close to the road. So there's a lot of other things that we have to consider here. So it's not just going to be our planning commission, it's going to be looking at this, obviously. State DOT will be reviewing this, and others. So it's going to go through a long process.
Just in closing, Karen was nice enough to come out to, at our last meeting and brief the department. And believe me, most of the people were in favor of it. And like I say, it's early stages, but it looks good for all of us. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Mr. Bills, are you here for that? Also, do you want to say something?
Hi, I'm Dave Bills, 1390 Main Street, Rotterdam Junction. When I see this project come in, I thought, well, let's see what happens. But, a little history lesson. My father-in-law told me to tell everybody that was the site of the original gas station. So, I went and, there's a lot of people in town that don't have licenses that this would help. We have all our we have no place for our teenagers to go work. Hopefully they'll have some jobs available for our teenagers. We have a lot of people that don't drive. I see it as a positive. I went and visited the Amsterdam store, the one on Saginaw Road. Both of them are doing well. They weren't messy. Amsterdam, where they put that one, the buildings around it cleaned direct up. Every place around here is an aquifer overlay, so that's just a step they have to cross. But I think it's good for the junction. I've been here all my life, so it'll be the first new private building we have in a long time. So.
Thanks for your time. Thank you. So anyone else on public hearing 1 this evening? In case you came in late, anyone else on public hearing 1, would you like to step up and give us your name and address? That's okay, no, sorry, that's why I'm asking, because I don't want to, if you're brave enough to go up, then.
I don't know if I'm brave enough.
Yeah,
I'm taking the plunge anyway.
Your name and address for the record, sir?
My name is Steve Grantstaff. I live at 415 Sharon Drive, Rotterdam Junction. This is going to be like a little bit of a broad spectrum here, but I moved our family to Rotterdam Junction in 2001. We chose this area because it's a rural town, and it has that feel and the charm with it, but close enough to the larger cities where you can get whatever you needed really at any time that you needed it. There's been a lot of grants and developments, proposals that I think for the most part are very positive for our community. So I'm happy about that. And I think we can all agree that the bike path extension, the sidewalk, and the road improvements are welcome additions. However, the proposed addition of Dollar General and that coupled with the solar farm that's also being talked about, perched over our treasured water supply are drawing mixture of opinions, which is expected. I'm glad we can come together and share our views in this type of a setting and work together for what we feel is best for our community. So I want to thank you guys for providing this forum. Thank you for that. By profession, I'm a project manager, so I tend to look at things holistically, and I try and get out in front of them to mitigate any impacts and look at risks and assess anything that might go wrong. Try to make sure all the pieces of the puzzle work, so when I look at all the proposed developments coming to our town, I wonder if the planning board and everybody else is looking at it through the same lens. Do all these fit into the rural charm town, the rural feel that we want to keep for Rotterdam Junction? We have extended our bike path to make it safer, more attractive, and functional to bicycle and outdoor enthusiasts in general. We are looking forward to finally getting decent sidewalks throughout the town that we have desperately needed since I moved my family here. But when you look at the solar farm and the Dollar General, to me, neither of these fit into that scheme. Are we trying to improve the infrastructure to attract people, potential new residents, potential new businesses to Rotterdam Junction, admire the rural atmosphere by having them ride and walk by a Dollar General and a solar farm? And I know we just talked about that, but also Bobby's Auto. I know there's plans in place for that, but I'm glad to hear that that's being cleaned up, and I'm curious to see what the plans are for that, to see if it fits into the whole scheme. Like I said, I don't know what the actual plans are, but a small park or whatever might not be a bad idea.
Exactly what we're talking about down there.
However, right across the street would be the view of the front of a Dollar General, and from behind would be a solar farm, so really not much of a view for a park. All of these things being considered, I don't think the Dollar General is a good idea or a good option for this town. All of the articles that I've read on Dollar General come to rural towns like ours. They're about 50-50, 50% positive, 50% negative. One of the most common comments in the articles that I saw is these stories is that they do not enrich the community or are in touch with the community needs. They stock their stores with goods that are low cost, high margin products to expand their profits. People also have the impression that it will create a bunch of jobs, when in fact it really doesn't. The average store only employs 6 to 11 people, and there's no guarantees that they will hire locally. Regarding the construction of the building, just a question, will any of this work benefit our local contractors or our contract firms that are local to Rotterdam Junction or the Pattersonville area? It seems to me that if I was looking for a benefit, really the only benefit is convenience for having a Dollar General store here. But then also when you look at that, there's one that's in Amsterdam, and there's also one in Scotia. So how many people is this really going to attract to the one in Rotterdam Junction? In my opinion, our community would be better served by a small market like a Gabriel's as an alternative to traveling to the larger grocery stores. I've talked to a lot of people, and they mentioned the markets and other businesses that were here from years past. Eventually they closed doors due to either lack of business or what I feel is they probably felt victim to the cost of doing business here in New York State. I didn't even know that that parcel of land was for sale until the Dollar General proposal hit. So I also wonder what's being done to incent other local business looking to expand that might look at coming out to Rotterdam Junction. So in closing, I'm just requesting the planning board and also the citizens of Rotterdam Junction take a look at all the pieces of the puzzle, make sure they fit to show off the beauty and the charm of the community that we have right here. Our water supply and the rural feel should not be compromised by hasty decisions for convenience. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, anyone else in the public hearing one? Anyone else in the public hearing one?
Hello, my name is Paula Ross. I live at 5 Riverview Drive here in the Junction. I'm also a realtor that works a lot here at Rotterdam Junction. Sorry. So the only thing I want to say as a realtor, the issues that I hear for potential buyers is that we have no place to shop. The stores are too far away, so the Dollar General would definitely help out with that. A grocery store would be even better. But as far as people having a place to go to buy groceries, it would be great. The other thing I also hear is our tax base. You know, if we have more businesses in the Junction, is it going to lower our tax base? I don't know. You know, that's just a question. And the other thing is, because we're on septic, bringing businesses in, does that mean we're going to need to eventually bring sewers in if we're going to start attracting more businesses? So those are 3 questions that I have, and just the issue of, you know, potential buyers in the Junction. They love the fact that it's a rural community, but a lot of people feel like they're a long ways away from Rotterdam, Amsterdam, and sometimes that's a deterrent for people buying properties here. Thanks so much.
Thanks for the comment. Thank you. Anyone else under public hearing one this evening? Anyone else like to be heard under public hearing one this evening? Anyone else like to be heard under public hearing one this evening? Okay, we'll declare public hearing one closed at this time. We'll go to public hearing two.
To amend Chapter 112, Section 5 of the Code of Town of Rotterdam entitled Authorization of Inspectors to include Commonwealth Electrical Inspection Service.
Okay, anyone like to be heard under public hearing two this evening? Anyone like to be heard on the public hearing two this evening? Anyone like to be heard on the public hearing two this evening? Okay, we'll declare public hearing closed at this time. And we'll go into public comment privilege of the board. Ms. Buckley.
Jack Dodson?
Good evening, Jack Dodson, 1311 Cipriano Terrace. Just a couple general comments. First, I'd like to extend a thank you to, I believe it's the Parks Department. They did indeed mow and weed whack the Curry Road Bridge today, which is something, again, that we'd like to see every year for the parade. And I believe the parade's tomorrow night, 6:30?
6 o'clock will line up.
6 o'clock lined up?
Starts at 6:30.
Let's see, in addition to this, this is number 15819. A question I had relative to public area and adaptive reuse. My understanding, again, is there is a proposed buyer for the Pine Grove, I think, school there, and I'm just wondering, from a time standpoint, you know, we have to go through the public hearing process, so are we talking a month or two for this to get through the board?
Well, I can tell you, I can say, you know, this, and I don't want to cut into your time, but these properties have been up for sale for a long time. So even a year ago, there was speculation on that property. So, you know, what we're trying to do here is simply to ensure that institutional buildings like schools or churches or places of worship often sit vacant for a long period of time. And we want to do what we can to ensure that they get reused and rather than torn down. And so that's what we're really working towards here with this potential. Now, we had a public hearing over a year ago. There was no action taken at that time, so we're calling for another public hearing in order to advance the changes.
Let's see, 16219. Again, this is a change of zone relative to 3 8-unit apartment buildings. Every time I hear the word multifamily, moratorium comes to my head. And to my mind, at some point in time, and you guys have heard me beat the drum on this several times, is will there ever be an assessment done by the town relative to the number of multifamily dwelling units in the town, particularly the impact on our infrastructure? And can we support this? When do we reach saturation for the multifamily units? Just throw that out there. Let's see, 16319, kudos to the town. Again, I see you do have the RFQ going out for an update to the town comprehensive plan, which you know I wholly support. I've attended the meetings. What I did like about the RFQ going out is there's a significant part of the RFQ that talks about public participation, again, which I think is very important. I hope that during these public participation meetings for the comprehensive plan that we get the turnout that we see here tonight, because we as residents of the town need to have the input in these meetings so that the vision is documented in there and the citizens get what they're looking for going forward. For my comments, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Jack.
Anyone else? Okay, just in case, is there anyone else that wants to be heard on really any topic? Just public comment privilege of the floor tonight. In case you came in late and didn't sign up. No? Okay. So we'll move into our resolutions. Ms. Marco, 15019.
Adopt the meeting minutes from the May 8th, 2019 town board meeting.
Okay, could I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Christou, is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Guidarelli. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mr. Guidarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signal?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, resolution 15019 passes. Resolution 15119.
Appoint individuals to various seasonal summer positions at the Town of Rotterdam Highway Department commencing on various start dates through August 31st, 2019 at an hourly rate of $11.10.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Christou, is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Guidarelli. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Markle, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, resolution 151-19 passes. Resolution 152-19.
Appoint Daniel Jones as the director of the Town of Rotterdam Summer Town Band to perform during the town's summer concert series at the Town of Rotterdam Senior Citizen Center, in an amount not to exceed $1,000.
Okay, may I have a motion, please? Motion by Mr. Gitterelli. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Christou. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Markle, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, resolution 152-19 passes. Resolution 153-19.
Appoint Keith Bushy as the director of the Town of Rotterdam Summer Jazz Band to perform during the town's summer concert series at the Town of Rotterdam Senior Citizen Center in an amount not to exceed $800.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Christou. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Mr. Gitterelli. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Markle, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, resolution 153-19 passes. Resolution 154-19.
Declare the town board as lead agency and authorize the town planner to prepare, file, publish, and distribute all documents necessary to comply with NYCRR Part 617 and state environmental quality review relative to the proposed local law referenced in resolution number 156.19.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Signor.
I'll
Is there a
second.
Okay, second by Mr. Christou. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Markle, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, resolution 154-19 passes. Resolution 155-19.
Declare the town board as lead agency and authorize the town planner to prepare, file, publish, and distribute all documents necessary to comply with NYCRR Part 617 and state environmental quality review relative to the proposed local law referenced in resolution number 157.19.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Signor. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Gitterelli. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Markle, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, resolution 155-19 passes. Resolution 156-19.
Call for a public hearing to be held on Wednesday, June 26, 2019, at the John F. Kirby Government Center, Town Hall, 1100 Sunrise Boulevard, Rotterdam, New York, 12306, upon adoption of a proposed local law of the year 2019 for the following purpose: to allow for a change of zone request from Frank Serafini for a property located at 2212 Greenpoint Avenue, Rotterdam, New York, 12303, known as tax map number 59.14-9-15.1. The applicant is requesting a change of zone from R1 single-family residential to R2 two-family residential on a plus or minus 0.2 acres for the construction of a duplex.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Christou. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Signor. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Markle, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, resolution 156-19 passes. Resolution 157-19.
Call for a public hearing to be held on Wednesday, June 26, 2019, at the John F. Kirby Government Center, Town Hall, 1100 Sunrise Boulevard, Rotterdam, New York, 12306, upon adoption of a proposed local law of the year 2019 for the following purpose: to allow for a change of zone request from Stewart Shops for properties located at 1174 Floral Avenue and 1180 Floral Avenue, Rotterdam, New York, 12306, respectively known as tax map numbers 58.12-1-11 and 58.12-1-12. The applicant is requesting a change of zone from R1 single-family residential to B2 general business on a plus or minus 0.301 acres for the construction of a 3,823 square foot convenience store with an associated 4-island gasoline dispensing facility on a combined plus or minus 1.29 acre parcel.
Okay, may I have a motion, please? Motion by Mr. Gitterelli. I'll second. Second by Mr. Christou. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Gabelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, resolution 15719 passes. Resolution 15819.
Call for a public hearing, call for a public hearing, oh, it's repeated.
Yeah, it's okay there. I saw that. Yeah.
Okay, I'll take that out, okay. Call for a public hearing to be held on Wednesday, June 26, 2019, at 7 p.m. at the John F. Durbin Government Center, Town Hall, 1100 Sunrise Boulevard, Rotterdam, New York, 12306, for the following purpose: to amend Chapter 270 of the Code of the Town of Rotterdam to provide for special use permits allowing adaptive reuse of religious and educational buildings.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Christou, is there a second, please?
Second.
Second by Mr. Signor? Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Gabelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5
Okay,
yes.
resolution 15819 passes. Resolution 15919.
Adopt local law number 6 of the year 2019 for the following purpose: to allow for an amendment to the Code of the Town of Rotterdam, Chapter 60, residency requirements, Section 60-4, failure to comply, and Article 6, board of residency, Section 60-9, board of residency. Public hearing was called for at a town board meeting on April 24th, 2019. Public hearing was held at the town board meeting on May 8th, 2019.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Christou, is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Cuccarelli. Anyone? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Gabelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
And Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution 15919 passes. Resolution 16019.
Adopt local law number 7 of the year 2019 for the following purpose: to allow for an amendment to the Code of the Town of Rotterdam, Chapter 154, Housing and Building Standards, Section 154-3, Code Enforcement Officer, Section 154-4, Powers and Duties of Officer, and Section 154-7, Restrictions on Officers. Public hearing was called for at the town board meeting of April 24, 2019. The public hearing was held at the town board meeting of May 8, 2019.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Christou, is there a second, please?
Second.
Second by Mr. Signor. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, resolution 16019 passes. Resolution 16119.
Adopt the negative declaration dated May 22nd, 2019 to amend Town Code, Chapter 270, Section 5, definitions. Chapter 270, Section 18, special uses in the agricultural zone. Chapter 270, Section 28, special uses in a one-family residential zone. And Chapter 270, Section 38, special uses in the town family residential zone.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Christou, is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Cuccarelli. Anyone on the question? Okay, just on the question, this has to do with the adaptive reuse. And just to give I want to read the background information in this legislative request form. So the purpose of the adaptive reuse of religious or educational buildings section is to foster the renovation and reuse of structures originally constructed for religious or educational uses, which have historic, architectural, economic, and cultural or other value to the town and are at risk of becoming underutilized, vacant, or demolished. Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Christou, a second by Mr. Gutierrez. Anyone else on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, please call the roll.
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, resolution 16119 passes. Resolution 16219.
Refer to the Planning Commission for report and recommendation thereon a proposed local law of the year 2019 for the following purpose: to allow for a change of zone request from Zalando Vespucci for a property located at 711-731 Burdick Street, Rotterdam, New York, 12306, known as tax map numbers 48.9-2-4, 48.9-2-5, 48.9-2-6, and 48.9-2-7. The applicant is requesting a change of zone from B2, general business to R3, multifamily residential on a plus or minus 1.23 acres for the construction of 3 8-unit apartment buildings.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Christou, is there a second, please?
Second.
Second by Mr. Signor. Anyone with a question? Okay, again, this is referring to the planning commission for their recommendation on the zone, potential zone change. Okay, Ms. Mark, would you call the roll?
Mr. Christoph?
Yes.
Mr. Guidarelli?
I'm going to vote no on this and explain my vote. I think it's too soon for more apartments in that area. We have 248 being constructed right now on neighboring properties. I think they're really close. Whether they touch or not, I'm not sure. Mr. Viscusi is a top quality builder, great landlord. He runs a fantastic business. I just think right now, we have enough apartments in the town, and I think we need to take inventory of what's going on. So, voting no.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Siegler?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
So I'll explain my vote as well. I mean, I'm going to vote yes, but before I even say the word yes. So in looking at housing stock and the variety of choices that people make today of where they live, you know, many of us, you know, growing up, whether we went into an apartment first or we went into one family, and, you know, however it is, if you will, we moved from one different property to another. Those were always, you know, that's market driven. And more importantly, as you look at the different municipalities around us, in the big scheme of things, and I'm not saying that this is the only reason, but really Rotterdam is just catching up on apartments. Other communities around us have many more apartment units than we do. More importantly, this area of the town where, as Joe aptly said, you know, there's apartments there, there's more being built. But more importantly, it's not just market driven, it's people's choices. Most of these apartments, the people that I know that are renting in these apartments, whether they're Ferry Road, Hamburg Street, this area of town, if you will, by Burdeck Street and other areas, they make a choice, whether it's an economic one or one that they make because that's what they want for them and their family. There's, you know, usually you're going to have one or two people living in them. They're not 3 and 4 bedroom units or anything like that. The vast majority are 1 bedroom units and some 2 bedroom units. You may have some little larger, but that's about it. Also, you know, just to help with, you know, from people, how should I say this, to alleviate people's, I guess I want to say, unfortunate biases. You know, I don't care whether you're renting a house or you're renting an apartment. If you're living in the town, you have to prescribe to certain you know, certain ways of life, if you will. And you know, we have code enforcement that goes out, and frankly, the issues that we have in code enforcement have nothing to do with apartments. The vast majority have to do with one-family homes and commercial properties. The people that are renting in a lot of these apartments, people that I know, they're elderly. They're either single or it's, you know, it's a couple. They're young people with maybe a child, one child, whatever the situation is, whatever their living situation is. We have to have these housing choices for people in our town. They bring money to the town because people are working. The rent's not cheap on these apartments. So you may be able to rent a one-family home in town, and sometimes cheaper than you can, or less expensive, I should say, cheap, less expensive than you can an apartment. But, you know, make no mistake, these properties are all taxed, they're all in the tax rolls. In the areas where these apartments are being built, they're on shorelines. So, you know, we're impacting it a positive way as far as bringing us to, expanding, as Evan was saying, you know, expanding the ability for our sewer district. And but again, importantly, I think that if you were to do an analysis of the number of units, you'll find that honestly Rotterdam is just catching up. And it does seem like a lot in a short period of time. But again, it is also because it's market driven. We don't have, if we had sewers in some of the main, I'll say it like this, in some of the main areas of town, particularly in the western side of town, you know, around 25A, you might see some more one-family construction. But it doesn't make sense because the sewers are not there. You know, so when it comes to developing and the land that's necessary to put in a septic system, the soils have to be right. You know, so there's all kinds of considerations. But more importantly, I think that rather than make a judgment, in my opinion, that seems biased, if you want to, go talk to the management of these apartment complexes. And you'll find that the vast majority of the people that live there are people who are working or they're retired. They're contributing to the fabric of the community. Many of them are from Rotterdam, so they've sold their one-family home and they're just moving into an apartment, whether it's temporary or permanent. And those are the people that I know. So, when I'm here to vote on it, particularly for a call for public hearing, we're not voting on a zone change tonight. We're voting on calling for a public hearing. So, or I'm sorry, for the recommendation to the planning commission. Excuse me. So, I think I spoke long enough. I will vote yes.
4 yes and 1 no.
Okay, resolution 16219 passes. Resolution 16319.
Issue a request for qualifications, RFQ, for consulting services related to updating the comprehensive plan.
Can we have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Christou. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Mr. Goodrelli. Anyone on the question? Okay, here on the question, as far as the public hearings, once we choose an engineering firm, engage them to help us update our comprehensive plan, there will be meetings throughout the town. So it's not a situation where we're just going to have meetings at just town hall. We'll have meetings here. We'll have meetings probably at the senior center, at the other firehouses, potentially the schools, and try to engage everyone and really focus not only on. So, for example, here we would focus on the entire town, but we also focus more so here. What do you want to see happen further in the junction? And, as was said earlier, there's a lot of restrictions here because we're in zone 1 of the aquifer. So, you're not going to see, I'm just going to be blunt, because the Intermunicipal Watershed Board would say no to it. You're not going to see a gas station, another gas station probably pop up here anywhere, anytime soon. You're not going to see something that would be a potential detriment to our water system here or the water system that we have downriver, which takes care of the rest of the town. So know that is our primary obligation, and it's something that I've always strived for, and I know you all understand it. One of the things that was brought up also regarding the potential for more business along Main Street, that would be great if we could have a little bit more here so that you have places to shop or eat or whatever the case may be. But with those projects, the Planning Commission, the Intermunicipal Watershed Board, this board will ensure that there is nothing there and that there are processes in place, if you will, to make sure that nothing can be a pollutant, in particular to our water supply here. So, on the tax side, you have a water tank here, which is one of the reasons why you pay a lot more than the rest of the town on your water taxes, because we had to put up a new water tank about 10 years ago, plus actually over 10 years ago here. We're entertaining other options, if you will. We've had just conversations, and I've said this at other town board meetings, but I want to bring it up here again. We've had conversations with the town of Florida to potentially, put water out there. What that would mean for us is it would mean a positive impact to what you're paying for your water, but more importantly, it would bring more revenue in so that we can improve the system here. The pipes that are in the ground here are the oldest ones in the entire town that I'm aware of. Besides the main lines that run from our water plant on Rice Road and off the other cloverleaf there at exit the Campbell Avenue exit, if you will. So we need to look at replacing what we have in the ground here because long term you need it. When we've made repairs out here and our water sewer workers can attest to it. We had a repair on Isabella Street a couple years ago, and what we had to do there was, rather than honestly try to tie into the pipe that was there, we replaced the whole line right down the street because it made more sense. And did it cost us more money? Yeah, but we had to do it. So know that when we're committing here to improvements of infrastructure, we're not going to take a Band-Aid approach. We're going to do everything that we can within the confines of what we have budgeted. And that's always a struggle for us. But if we're able to entertain, particularly from this part of town, the sale, if you will, or use by outside entities and other municipalities here, along 5S in particular, that want our water because we have the ability to storage and to provide water to them, that we're going to look at that. You know, we have that obligation, and you'll know about it too, because we'll have public hearings here regarding that should we proceed in the future. But I want you to be aware that we're looking, as you know, all the time for opportunities to make improvements to our infrastructure, but, you know, without having you have to foot the whole bill. So, you know, so there's all those things. So we're cognizant of cost. And I don't want you to think any other way. We wouldn't just do it just to do it. We'd find a mechanism so that we're benefiting the residents that are here who already pay for the infrastructure. They've paid a lot of the debt service on that water tank so far. Okay. So, Ms. Marshall, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, resolution 163-19 passes. Resolution 164-19.
The Town Board of the Town of Rotterdam, acting on behalf of the Town of Rotterdam, District Number 5, authorizes the supervisor to enter into an amended lease agreement between New Singular Wireless PCS LLC, 575 Morosco Drive, Atlanta, Georgia, 30324, and Town of Rotterdam Water District Number 5 for the installation of communications equipment to be located at 2435 Hamburg Street, tax map number 59.11-7-5, Rotterdam, New York 12303.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Christos, is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Gitterelli. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, resolution 164-19 passes. Resolution 165-19.
Authorize the highway superintendent, subject to state law, to establish the work week and hours of employment for employees from 6 a.m. through 4:30 p.m., Monday through Thursday, from July 1st, 2019 through August 31st, 2019, at the written request of the highway superintendent.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Christos, is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Signor. Anyone on the question? I'll wait until I go. Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
And Mr. Thomason?
So before I vote, I just want to say that, you know, one of the statements that has been made is that, you know, we're saving time on vacation time and some other, you know, call-ins and whatnot, and I frankly just don't buy it. We have a younger department, we have younger employees in the highway department, so just by virtue of that alone, they take less time because they have less time, less vacation time, et cetera. They don't have a lot of bank, sick time or personal time. And I think it's somewhat unfair to the other employees in the town who frankly have to work Monday through Friday and don't have any kind of flex schedule. Have to use their time to and to have Fridays off when we don't know what the weather holds. So if your lawn leaf bags are hanging out there for an extra 5-6 days because it rains, you know, that Friday would have been a time when we could have picked them up. So I'm voting no.
4 yes, 1 no.
Okay, resolution 165-19 passes. Resolution 166-19.
Authorize the supervisor to enter an agreement with the New York State Department of Transportation for the installation of emergency generator transfer switches at 2 signalized intersections.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Christos, is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Signor. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, resolution 166-19 passes. Resolution 167-19.
Authorize the supervisor to negotiate and enter into a memorandum of agreement with Civil Service Employees Association, CSEA, Local 1000, Town of Rotterdam Unit, Schenectady County, Local 886, to amend Article 8, Section 3 of the collective bargaining agreement and settle various employees' grievances.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Christo, is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Mr. Gitterelli. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
And Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, resolution 167-19 passes. Now, I need a motion for consent items 168-19 through 172-19, please.
Mr. Supervisor, I make a motion to approve the following consent items.
Item number 16819, 16919, 17019, 17119, and 17219.
We have a motion by Mr. Christou. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Mr. Sigmar. Anyone on any of the questions here on any of the resolutions? So just Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Sure. Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mr. Guerrero?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Sigmar?
Yes.
And Mr. Thomason?
Yes. Okay, so resolutions 16819 through 17219 pass. Okay, anyone have anything under committee reports and miscellaneous? Anyone want to report on the battle of the badges, Steve? You want to talk about your prowess on the field?
Oh, please, Mr. Supervisor, you make me turn red. Let me first talk about the Memorial Day Parade tomorrow. Starts at 6:30. And also want to remind you that the Memorial Day service at the Town Hall will be on Monday at 2 p.m. And also wanted to point out, we did the opening day for the Challenger Baseball League on Sunday. The field, I thought, looked absolutely spectacular. They did a really good job on it. We've also talked about a few more things that we're going to do to enhance it. But the work that was done on it, I thought was really good. It's almost our flagship field, if you will. And so we pondered some ideas of how we can utilize it more throughout the good weather season. And then lastly, yes, the Battle of Badges. It was just that, it was the Battle of Badges. We had a great turnout. We are actually looking to maybe enhance it every year as we go along. We had 3 teams this year, with the winner of one playing on to the third team. So ideally, if you can even it up, get 4 teams, you might be able to start earlier in the day, or start and have 2 teams play, then another 2 teams play, and end up with the final game with everybody. We're also looking to try to enhance it to make it more attractive to families. Get things in there to bring in the kids instead of it just being really relegated to players, their families, we're going to probably be maybe forming a committee maybe towards the latter part of the year, see if we can't do something for that. And hopefully next year it'll be bigger and better.
Thank you. Anyone else?
And thank you for noticing my skills, Mr. Supervisor.
Yeah,
I'm glad I had a chance this year to play. Thank you.
It was a lot of fun. We were pleased, the fire.
I'm just glad you let me play.
Fire officers and
I don't think there's an option.
and then we had members of some of the other departments in the town that played, and of course the police always beat us somehow. And but I think what we're going to do next year, though, Steve wants to do this, just so you know. Steve wants to do push-up competition. So and I might get in on that myself. So we're going to try that and then see how the rest of it goes.
And Jeff Collins throws heat, by the way, so.
Is that, okay.
Yeah, no, he does.
Yeah.
He was scared of me, that's why I didn't throw.
Is that what I can?
Oh, yeah. No, he can. He wants to, he can throw.
I'll buy that for me for tonight.
We'll go with that. Mr. Supervisor, move to adjourn.
Wow, that was easy. Okay, we have a motion for adjournment by Mr. Christou. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Mr. Guerrero for adjournment. All in favor of adjourning, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming this evening. Appreciate you being here tonight. Thank you.